Hello and welcome to the Social Recruiting Show. I'm Katrina Collier. I'm, of course, author of The Robot Proof Recruiter and a facilitator and speaker. I'm, of course, joined by my gorgeous co-host, the very talented talent acquisition professional, the one, the only, the amazing Glenn Martin, who did not distract me through the intro, even though he tried. And for wonderful VE Day, he's sitting under our Union Jack suit. Today, I'm very excited because it's Tangie Pettis, another talented talent acquisition professional, but more famous for nearly getting me blocked from a nail salon, but we'll come back to that. And we also have to thank our very excited to have our Enterprise alumni. So James Sinclair enjoyed last week's show so much he decided to sponsor our show. So thank you very much. Welcome to the show, Tangie Pettis.
Welcome, Kenji.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you had to get up quite early for us as well. You didn't get a sleep in. Sorry.
Yep. Super early. That is commitment. That is definite commitment, right?
That is right. And it was worth it.
Good. So Tangie, for those very few amount of people that don't know who you are, give us a little bit about yourself and how you got into recruitment.
Right. So I'm Tangie Pettis. A little bit about me. I have been in the recruiting space for about 20 years. I've been remote for 15 of those 20 years.
And, I said 18. Lies. Say 18.
Well, let me tell you the truth about the 18. We'll break it down.
Yeah. Oh, good.
I remotely have worked with hiring managers for the first few years of my recruiting. And that was in my office space that I worked at. They were not on site with me.
Got you.
But I've been working from home and managing hiring managers in the field for the past 15 years. So that's how we come up with that. So
that's good. Oh, I'm like, God.
Yeah.
So I'll go off with a fib.
But I started out in retail management, and one of the things that I loved about what I was doing was recruiting and building teams and training them. And one day I just said, what would it be like to only recruit? What would that be like? And by way of just doing some research, I landed into agency recruiting. And that is how I started my stint in this world. And it's been uphill from there.
Awesome.
Everyone ends up in agency recruitment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone does
hustle.
Yeah, exactly. You do have to hustle. I think it gives you a good grounding, right? Agency. It does make you hustle. You need to move fast and get stuff done quickly, right?
Yeah, move fast, get things done quickly, think on your own. You can't just go run and get help because everybody's in the pit dialing. You're like, no one can help me. I'm on my own right now.
Help.
Yeah.
So speaking of being on your own right now, so what's going on thanks to the slightly inconvenient virus?
Oh, yeah, that thing.
That little thing.
Yeah,
what's going on in Tangie world?
Been furloughed due to COVID-19, and some people take a pause and I go in action. So I worked really hard at doing what I love best, and that's teaching, coaching, and training. And I've launched my consulting gig, TWT Talent. And so a lot of the cool tips and tricks that you'll hear now are things that I can do for teams and individuals.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And I love it because I got a sneak peek at the website. So lucky.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had to get her opinion on a couple things. So
because you knew that I'd be factual.
Yeah. Super factual.
Yeah. Factual.
And supportive.
Yeah. And so TWT stands for Talks with Tangie Talent. And so not only will there be talks with me talking with teams and individuals, but there will be talk shows too with talking all things talent. So more to come on that.
Cool.
That sounds wicked.
Cool.
Sounds wicked.
What
indeed.
I especially like though is you're plugging a gap. I think like my new mastermind's plugging a gap. You're plugging a gap. There's not enough. Hence I was calling this the actual tips from someone who has actually got experience.
Yeah.
Like the remote.
Yeah, I've been in that space a long
time. Is that just me?
And I'm guessing, Tangie, you can be like US wide, right? Because you're going to deliver this largely remotely, which segues into the title of today's show. But it will be, your new consultancy will be accessible to anybody in the US, right? And outside of the US.
Outside the US too. So
cool.
Ideally, a lot of this will happen remotely. I mean, that's been my life. Yeah. When things change, there's opportunities for me to go on site like I've done at conferences and do breakout sessions as well. Team building around some of the topics.
Boots, like stand-up boots.
Oh, and wear little sparkly things. Is that what you're talking about, Katrina?
statement. You need to watch her SourceCon keynote. You'd understand what I'm talking about.
That sounds good.
So,
By the way, can we just shout out Shimmy and Anne? And actually, an old colleague of mine, Vasco, is also tuning in. So, I think I just mentioned SourceCon, and I'll be having a little wee-hoo in the background there.
That's cool.
Makes sense.
That's cool.
So, we were chatting about the whole, there's a lot of interesting advice out there at the moment for managing hiring managers. You told me, which is the thing I went, you have to come on the show, was when you said to me that you'd managed hiring managers remotely and they didn't even realize.
Yes.
Yeah, that's impressive. That is impressive.
Do you want to explain a bit more about that while we get a woohoo from Anne?
Yes. Okay.
Do I get a pound every time I say SourceCon on this for you, Anne?
Yeah.
That would be brilliant.
All right. So there was a company, and I'll try to not name the company I worked at, and I helped pilot their work from home situation. It was at a time where they wanted to go outside of their area and find top talent. And so I was able to get the job, and I didn't live in that state, but I traveled there once a week out of the month, and I stayed there for the week. But 3 weeks out of the month, I literally was not there. I was the only recruiter on the team that did not live in that state or work in the office.
Cool.
And so during that week that I was there, that's when I did all of my on-site visits with my hiring managers, my lunch, my meetings. Everything was compressed in that week. I mean, literally, I was pooped by the time I got on the plane on Friday. My feet hurt. I was tired. Yeah, back. So over time, I built these really great relationships. And so it really was to a point where when I was coming to meet with them, no one really was putting together why we were meeting once a month, but it was like I was giving them FaceTime. They're enjoying spending time with me. And so it was kind of hush-hush that I was working remotely because it wasn't accepted just yet.
And when was that, out of interest? How many years ago?
Oh, gosh, this was only about 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, but it was still different 6 or 7 years ago.
It was so different.
Video and WhatsApp and all of that have gone insane in the last 6 or 7 years.
Exactly. Back then, I was training them on Skype. I was the Skype queen. I knew how to do everything with Skype, and I was telling them how to use Skype. And so one of the funny things was I was talking to a manager, and it had been about five months or so, and I happened to just mention I didn't live there. And she was like, "What do you mean you don't live here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I come here once a month, and everything I've done for you and all that we've built and this recruiting and new team, I've done that from my home office." She was like, "What? What do you mean?" And she was a manager that had been giving me rave reviews. She felt like I was the best recruiter she ever had. High touch service, always accessible, able to reach me whenever she needed me. And so that's just an example of you can do this working remotely. Like you don't have to be in their face all the time. I mean, they have work. Like when you think about recruiters, we are a blip on their radar.
Yeah.
A blip.
And an annoying blip at that, right?
I know, right?
They need staff, but they don't like it. No, come on. They've got their day job. They're busy. They're like, we're interrupting them to try and hire this for their team. What we do is important, but we're in the way.
Yeah.
Yes. And there are everything we're doing is for them. Yeah. So you have to find that fine balance. But I love that story. And actually, I'm still really cool with her. Her and I laugh about it all the time. She's like, I still can't get over you. She
has to do that little recommendation for the website. Don't forget. Quick shout out. Hi, Van. Just saying hello from Johannesburg, where they weren't even allowed out to buy booze, which was quite worrying. And Mr. Stroud. Hello, Mr. Stroud. There's someone else there, but I can't read it because I need to put my glasses on.
So I was going to say, Tangie, I mean, that raises a really interesting question, which is, what do you do? So obviously when you started at that company, what was it you did in those first, that first month or those first meetings with those hiring managers that allowed you to kind of set up, I guess, the context or the framework to work with them really, really well? Because, like I said, you can't just kind of spin into that and just kind of, I guess you have to set some guide rails or something, or set some expectation.
Absolutely.
To allow that to happen, right?
Absolutely. So one of the things, whenever I start any new role and I find out who the key players are in terms of the hiring managers, and I build that relationship with them, it's the first phone call. It's getting to know them. I do research on them. This is something recruiters don't even think about. You will research your candidate until the 9th inning, right? Like you're finding all this information to connect with them. And then you just cold call a hiring manager, expect them to like you and trust you.
Can I just correct you there just for 1 second? Some recruiters will do that.
Yeah, that's true.
There are many that aren't curious, because we get their unexplained invites to connect, don't we? And all sorts of random messages from them as well.
That's true.
So okay. But the exceptional ones will do that.
Yeah.
But then they don't do it on the hiring managers.
And that's the key, though. So when I find out who my hiring managers are, I'm reading the company bio. I'm finding them on LinkedIn. I want to know about their accomplishments, the things that they've done at the company. I want to have something to connect with them on in that first conversation so that I know what's important to them. And then you start from there. It's not so much as, hi, I'm Tangie, I'm your recruiter, and I'm going to, it's really
in that particular voice.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's quite intimidating. I'm like, hi. Oh, but apparently it would be okay because Erin says you're exceptional. So you could actually do that.
I would not do that. And I think sometimes that's what recruiters do is they get so professional right away. And there's a way to be polite in yourself and get to know them. They're human like us. Yeah. And so once you break that barrier, that's really how it starts. A simple conversation and you set the expectations right away. I find out what's important to them. I ask them what worked well with the previous recruiter they had, what didn't. So right there, I'm filling in a gap already because I'm like, okay, I know I can overcome that one, right? But those are some small things, Glenn, that are really important in that first conversation.
Out of interest,
that comes from a place of confidence. Oh, sorry, go on, Katrina.
No, I'm just curious, what's the worst bad thing they've said was a problem with a previous person? Have you ever sat there going, oh my God, I can't fix that one?
Well, no. I mean, because it's me, Katrina. I'm always trying to fix something, but most of the times it's always, well, they never found me anyone, or I find my own candidates. Okay, do you really? Because you still have openings, you know. And so you really have to start thinking of the solutions. And over the years, and this is not coined anywhere. It's really just me generalizing hiring managers in 3 clumps. And I call them, there's 3 types. It's the overgeneralizer. That is the one that recruiters are all the same. You're never going to get me any good candidates. None of my positions ever get filled. Then there's the skeptic. You know, what are you going to do that's different? They don't trust recruiters. They expect you to fail. You know, oh, I'll do this call anyway, but whatever. It's been open a year. And then they're the ones that are the best recruiters. I find all my candidates. I know my gut feeling. You just send me a resume and I'll review it. Send me everybody that applies. That's where I laugh and I say, you think people are applying? I'm sourcing. I'm finding people. I'm connecting. I'm networking.
It's those intangibles, isn't it? It's kind of like they see a kind of process. So they see an ATS, numbers of CVs submitted, and they just that's their reference point. It's the intangible things that you bring to the table with knowing what a good CV looks like, knowing how long or who to speak to, how to qualify them quickly, how to get to the core of kind of what their capability is, and then making that judgment call as to whether they're right, and then presenting them to the hiring manager. And those kind of intangible things, as you said, for your kind of third stereotype there, who's the best recruiter ever. They think that what you do is super easy because they do it all the time.
Yes, they do it all the time, and they find all their candidates.
So how do you overcome that one? Like, because Glenn said something earlier, which was you're quite confident, and we're all 3 of us are confident. We know that no is a complete sentence, for example. But have you got any advice for like green recruiters who are like, oh my God, the hiring manager thinks I don't do much work?
Yeah. So the ones that are the best recruiters, so they say, is you got to go into the conversation prepared. And you're right, Glenn. It's about having the conversation that comes out where you exude your confidence. And so when I've dealt with the best recruiters, I typically lead the conversation and I will find examples to share success stories with them because I'm going to build my credibility. But not only that, you got to have the tough conversation, and that is ask for your one shot. Okay, you've been doing this, and guess what? It's not your job. I'm here. I'm here to support you. I've got this. I've been doing this for X number of years. Here are some things that I've learned about your territory, your market, whatever it is, to let them know that you're in it to win it. And that's when the conversation shifts. But there's a catch to that. You got to own up to it. Because if you get your one shot and you fail, you're screwed. And I'm telling you from experience. Because when I first started out in recruiting, and I was just as gusto and confident as I am now, but I couldn't back it up, I missed my one shot. And that was the worst year of my life with that one hiring manager. It was something as simple as I told her I would send her the candidate's resume by the end of the day, right? I got busy. I got swamped. And it was my first promise ever to her. And I didn't. Everything after that, she was with me for a year. Everything after that, she had these snide comments. She would say, well, are you really going to do it? And it just pained me. But she was
God, for one mistake. What a bitch.
Failed her. But again, remember, she was the best recruiter, and she did it on her own. And
okay,
I'm telling her I'm going to give her a resume at the end of the day, and I didn't. So I learned that the hard way.
Yeah,
you got to find that balance, right?
Other than obviously booking Tangie to recruit, train your team on how to handle your hiring managers. Just giving myself a little plug. Major contributor to this, right there, page 87. Am I showing it the right way? Yes. I mean, seriously, chapter 5 without you and Steve, etc., would just be page 87. All you need to know. Just throw that out there.
Well, it was my pleasure that you.
By the way, I had to switch them. I made them come over so I could show these. Shamila hasn't actually said that Tangie rocks here, but she has said it on LinkedIn. I made them come over. So
that's cool.
Look, Katrina made me go here. And I completely didn't do this earlier as well. I didn't actually show what we're talking about, which is how to actually manage your hiring mode. I've just lost the plot today. To be fair, it's a bank holiday. We're being very dedicated to the cause.
Very dedicated. But Tangie, you made a real key point there, which is sometimes the drive to want to please a hiring manager shouldn't outweigh the realistic expectation management. Because if you say, I'll get your CVs by the end of the day, and they seem really excited, like, okay, great. You're like, yes. And then when you don't deliver, game over.
And it's so hard
for a whole year.
For a whole year. I was so glad when I got transferred out of her group. I was like, whew.
Gosh. Okay, we got Kristen. I think cool. I haven't actually read it. I've just seen a question mark, so I do hope so. This has got Sylvia Romeo. I'm so sorry. I'm not saying your surname. I'm going to butcher it. Hi, thank you for sharing. I love these sessions. What kind of feedback do you give to the hiring managers, and how? So, do you give opinion feedback? Like, are you influencing?
Okay, so a little bit of yes and no. I typically learn the hiring manager's personality first to know where I can fit in. So are they more susceptible to my feedback, or is it more or less a transactional conversation where they want what I've got going on, and then I've got to give them what I know they have going on, and we kind of meet in the middle somewhere. But it's how you build the relationship and you set the expectations straight up. My first conversation with the hiring managers, I'm telling them what I expect being one of their recruiters. And then I also ask them what they expect of me. Most of the times that conversation is one-sided, and it's, what do you need from me? How many openings? When do you want to meet? I let them know these are my expectations too. When I send over a candidate, this is the time frame that we should connect. How often should we meet? What is your best method of contact that you prefer? Because if I'm calling you on your best method of contact that you prefer and you're not getting me, I'm not getting you, then I know there's a problem. And then we can follow up and we can readjust and we can go from there. So
I love that, with so many different ways to contact someone. Just asking, because there are so many, aren't they?
And once you do that, I mean, I have managers that said, just email me. I get it on my phone. I check it all the time. And then I have managers that say, just text me and I'll call you. I'll step aside and call you. And so when you find that avenue, because then you're not going to get they're not going to get frustrated with you. And that's the same way with the feedback. If you find out how they want it best, if they want a weekly summary or a biweekly summary, whatever is more suitable, then that's how you do that.
That's
Brilliant,
cool.
isn't it?
So that's kind of
Amen.
Amen.
So
Shamila's so gorgeous.
that kind of sounds like it's a sort of in-person kind of scenario, or are we saying this works equally the same remote? You can do this. There's no difference.
Remote. So back in the day, before we had all this technology, and a lot of this was literally over the phone that I was doing.
Yeah.
These were conversations that I had. They couldn't see me face to face. And that's why it was so powerful that I built those strong relationships, because there were people that I wouldn't meet until divisional or regional managers. And they're like, I feel like I know you. We talk on the phone, But one of the conversations that you have to have is laying everything out on the line. But then it's that recap, whether it's that recap in an email, recap in a quick text. And so then I always highlight you, me, right? Our quick little bullet points, what you committed to, what I committed to. Did I miss anything? Let me know. Talk soon. And it doesn't have to be long and drawn out. Absolutely. Then it helps me reference later. So I own up to what I'm supposed to do, and I hold them accountable for what they're supposed to do.
That's really important, because I think one thing that, historically you can struggle with is getting feedback from a hiring manager after an interview when they're not interested in moving forward with that particular individual. Suddenly they ghost you and they're like, yeah, they just weren't right. So you're saying that has to be front loaded in the agreement that you have with them at the very beginning, right?
Absolutely. Like, I've had managers that travel a lot, right? And the deal that I made with them was text me thumbs up, thumbs down. Like we can talk later about the thumbs down. Thumbs up, I already know what I have to do, because we've established in the beginning, if you're given a thumbs up, then I'm continuing that relationship with the candidate. I'm getting them through the rest of the process. Thumbs down, I'm going to wait to hear back from you why, so I can redirect my search. And you pick what's going to work. But the managers in the field loved that. Something as simple as when a manager was getting ready to talk to somebody, all I'd have to do is send out a text to them, reminding them of that phone number. And now that manager that's in the field is using that phone number, that V card that I send, pressing that number. They're not having to go get their laptop, pull over, and stuff like that. And so just like those little quick hits of service that you can do virtually changes the game.
First, we've got a question, but can we just have a round of applause for Shamila's facetiousness? Some of us do use facts. Jayashree Moore, fabulous, tuning in from India. Hi all. How to handle the hiring manager who gives the broad search and keeps changing the ideal candidate profile in their mind, which of course you can do remotely or in person. But so if you're happy to share how you do that.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this happens a lot, where you talk with the manager and you think you nailed it, right? And then they keep switching. So with this manager, you've got to be ahead of the game. Do what they're telling you to do, but then find the ideal candidates based off of this position, and that in your wheelhouse, that would be ideal. So that's when you go into the conversation, you let them know, okay, these are the candidates that we found based off our last conversation. These are the people that are in play. But I want to show you something different. Because remember, you asking for, especially if this is the best recruiter, right? And they're like, I can find this person. You're asking for your one shot. And so you're saying, based on my expertise and what's best for these types of roles with all of my experience, I want you to take a look at this. And that's where the game changer is, because then they start thinking, okay,
Tangie Pettis knows her stuff.
Yeah, a little something. And that's where you start building the wheelhouse. It's the same thing with the skeptic managers, the ones that, don't want to listen to a recruiter. They're like, they don't trust you. But those are the ones you've got to wow. So you really have to come out of the gates with your stellar candidates and not let them control the process.
And that's again by that research, being curious, talking to the candidates more, isn't it? As well. And actually that goes back to Liz Darling had written a great comment here, which I will also poor at communicating the efforts that go into getting a candidate to interview, which is a lot like what you're talking about, isn't it? Like saying, hey, this is what I'm doing and this is what I found. So, Jim is doing some business development for you. So somebody wants to hire you, Tangie Pettis. How can they contact you? Are you available for new clients?
I am available for new clients. And they can contact me at Tangie at twttalent.com. They can also go to the website, twttalent.com.
I love your website.
I got one question. I got one question for you, Tangie, because I do work kind of remotely as well. And one thing, depending on the client, sometimes I struggle is to give them that full visibility of what I'm doing on a weekly basis, because some like reports, some like summaries, some don't even bother, and they want to kind of weekly. Is there anything you do consistently that you push out to the clients you work with and say, look, regardless of what you want, this is my report, the way I report, this is my dashboard that you'll get every week and you can access anytime. Have you got something like that?
So when I first started, I did that and it was an epic fail. And I'll tell you why. Because there were managers that hated spreadsheets. There was one manager that I had a conversation with and I was like, you never respond to me. I'm sending you these reports. I'm giving you updates. I'm letting you know who's been interviewed, how many people are contacted. And finally she said, Tangie, I hate spreadsheets. Just send me an email if you found people this week or not. I was like, what? Just send you an email. This spreadsheet's like page and a half long.
Yeah.
So that's where I add into my initial conversation that I have with hiring managers. And what I ask is, if you try this, find out the 2 or 3 ways that you can commit to where you keep consistency and you're not doing everything each hiring manager says. And I ask, do you prefer weekly reports by email, touch bases over the phone, or just a quick hit on what I'm doing and how frequently? And so those are the 3 ways that I commit to. So then I know which managers, because I'm going to have a report anyway, which managers to send those reports out. They love me because that's what they want. They don't want to talk to me. They just want to see that spreadsheet, who's moving through, right? And then the ones that love to talk with me, like 'cause I like to talk, those are the ones that are on my calendar. And I ask them, is it weekly, bi-weekly? And we're touching base live and they're feeling connected. And then the ones that don't want to talk, they're like, just shoot me an email, a couple bullet points, what you got going on. But think of how you do what you do best and what ways you can communicate that in. Narrow that down, put it in your intro conversation, and then everybody's feeling the love.
Yeah. I think you've answered Gary Burney's question here. Do most hiring managers know how much work goes into getting candidates? Is there a level of understanding? I think you've sort of answered that, haven't you? Like saying no, but you're setting that expectation in the intake strategy session, aren't you?
Absolutely. And the other thing is, don't be afraid when you have a tough search week. The first time I had to have a conversation with the manager that I didn't have anybody, my stomach was hurting. I was all hot. I was flushed. I was like, but I got to do it. And when that manager told me that she appreciated me telling her that, and she knew that I was working hard because, again, we were talking every week. There was activity prior to that. She understood that these are challenges that we were going to have. And then I learned being upfront and honest and over communicating is your best bet, whether that communication is 0 or I've got you 3 or 10.
It's honesty, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's an interesting kind of juxtaposition in the UK at the moment. So I think, it's a global thing, but at the moment there appears to be large volumes of people being furloughed, large volumes of people being made redundant. And if you get a hiring manager turning around to you going, well, Deliveroo are making people redundant, such and such are making people redundant. Why can't we find people? Why are loads of people not coming to us? How do you kind of manage that expectation? Because we all know that it's not straightforward as there's loads of people on the market, so therefore we should get loads of applications. How do you kind of manage that expectation with the hiring manager?
Yeah, so that's a tough one because all they see is volume, right?
Yeah.
And then they look at, well, you should just have people. They should just be coming. And one of the things that I've done in the past is I've flipped that to the manager and I've asked, can you tell me why? Why would someone spotlight your department or here? What's going to be great about them wanting to work here, right? That's my job as a recruiter to go ahead and market that. But if you can't tell me that, that's your answer right there. You're not out there enough in that positive light that they're going to be flocking, which is why we have to partner, because I have to hunt, find, connect, and bring them here. Woo. And then you build your case, right? Like why they need you.
100%, because I think sometimes hiring managers have a different perception in terms of the perception of their brand from a business perspective and the perception of their brand from a candidate market perspective. And the two are very different. You can have a massively popular brand, but it doesn't mean to say that people know you within the candidate market as an employer of reputable employer, great culture, appealing to work for, that sort of thing. So you could have a lot of consumers for your product, but don't mean to say they're going to work for you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's very true. Mr. Kosakow asked a very strange question here. Are the managers trained to check the ATS? That's a very broad question, Stephen. Have you had coffee yet?
I know where Stephen's coming from on this, because ultimately, I know Stephen is a bit tongue-in-cheek, but he's right? Sometimes managers are like, send me some CVs, and you turn around and you go, have you even looked at the ATS? Do you even know how many people are actually applying on average to your roles? You know, I know where he's coming from on that.
Oh, okay, for updates.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
By the way, you got a boom from Liz Felstead, by the way. Thanks, Liz. I'm probably a second behind in delivering that, because there's a delay coming through to LinkedIn, so I get a bit behind sometimes.
To Stephen's question, I've worked with managers that have had access and that have not had access. And I'm going to give my personal preference on that. Too many cooks in the kitchen when the hiring managers have access. And I've actually worked on coaching hiring managers that have access to lay low in there. Let that be my domain, and I deliver in one fell swoop. And I always lean on, you have a lot more to do than to track within the ATS. And so most of the time when you have a manager that will do that, before you can contact someone, they've already reviewed their resume and they've made their gut feeling assumptions, and they're like, don't call them. Why? Oh, they misspelled 2 words at the bottom of the resume. Like, it's just.
Oh my God. Yeah. And imagine as well if they started actually hitting the reject button and sending those dreadful emails of.
Yes.
Could you imagine? Your candidate experience is bad enough that it gets screwed up by recruiters. Imagine what your hiring managers could do with it.
And here's a tip on that, while we're talking about
horrors.
One of the things that I tell hiring managers, and I lay it on thick, but it's true. I let them know you are an expert in your own right, in what you do, the culture here, how you're going to lead your team. I am the expert in finding people that match to that. And so if we work together, we're going to make a great team. You don't have to do what I do, and God bless you, I'm not going to do what you do. And so once you set yourself up in their lane, in your lane, that's when you start to get that credibility. And they're like, okay, I don't have to worry about this. I have a great recruiter.
I can do the 95%. That's actually my job, that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, a question from John Rose. Oh, the whole world's tuning in. That's brilliant. Question, to scorecard or not scorecard? That is the question.
Oh, you mean I
don't know what he means.
Yeah, John Rose, do you mean scorecard for the hiring manager, or?
Let's go the hiring managers.
Well, I think it's kind of a scorecard that you and the hiring manager develop, so you're on the same page in terms of the quality of the candidate. Because sometimes, they may be thinking of something they can't specifically articulate or translate to allow you to screen. So I can understand that the scorecard can be really useful actually as a tool.
Yeah. So I haven't used a scorecard with my hiring managers.
Candidates or interviews.
Okay. Yeah. Scorecards. Yeah, I've used scorecards. They're useful. Yeah.
So now for the interviews, if you're talking about that, I've used that before, and that's actually been, you send over just a more or less, like, this is for team interviews. You've got 2 or 3 managers interviewing the same person. Yeah. And the way we've done that before is collectively, they don't see each other's until we compile them all together, and they rank the candidate across the board, and then comments if necessary. I'm not a huge fan of that. It's really time consuming. I do typically ask. Yeah, I typically
sounds like that spreadsheet.
Yeah, if you've got feedback, let's get the feedback and let it be quick and prompt. Let's not fill out more documents and pull you from your team.
Glenn would want the spreadsheet, by the way, just in case you're ever hiring for him. Just letting you know. Yeah.
The thing is, though, you don't
need to give me any news.
Yeah, this is where Katrina and I are polar opposites.
Oh yeah, like no data.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about the data, but one of the things I tell the hiring managers, I can be your best data-driven recruiter, pulling all this data together, or I can be out there finding you top talent. You want me doing spreadsheets all day, or you want me finding top talent? So,
which goes on results, doesn't it? So is there any difference, like when you're doing all of this work and you are remote? Because I mean, honestly, everything we're talking about, it almost sounds like it could be face-to-face or remote. But is there any need to kind of justify? Like we've heard horror stories of people having to leave their Zoom on all day so that, you know, they're monitoring that they're sitting at their desk and all this kind of palaver. The companies that people will no longer be working for when this is past. But, you know, is there a difference in how you just say, this is what I've done today? Or again, it goes back to what we've just been talking about.
It really depends on how you've built your trust in the beginning and being accessible for the hiring managers. You know, I typically don't miss phone calls when people are looking for me. I'm responsive. I mean, that was one of the things, going back to that one hiring manager. She couldn't believe how quickly I responded to everything, because for some reason, when you work from home, people think you're sitting on the couch eating bonbons. You know, how are we finding you people if I'm watching TV all day? You know, but if there's this perception, right? And so, I'm known in the industry for being responsive and, you know, getting work done, having a sense of urgency, all of those things that you would typically do in the office,
in person,
doing them at home. Yeah. I mean, you can still do that. Like I joke and I say, what's the difference if I'm sitting in a cubicle doing what I'm doing at home? Because if I'm in a cubicle doing it, there's a couple things going to happen in the office. You're going to walk by my cubicle and you're going to think I'm talking to my best friend because I build great relationships. So I'm going to be laughing on the phone all the time. Or
oh my God,
you're on social media all the time because I'm sourcing on Twitter, I'm sourcing on Facebook. And they're like, oh my gosh, she's always online. She's giggling on the phone all the time. You don't need to see all of that. Let me just produce my work and do what I do at home.
That's cool.
And also, you would be the one person in the office that's talking. Most people sit in open plan offices with these on, ignoring each other.
Yes.
When you're the one recruiter, you know you're the one recruiter in the office because you're the only person either on the phone or consistently on video calls.
Everybody's just looking.
It's also really difficult because then everyone in the office is hearing you have those quite personal conversations, right?
Yeah.
But you don't really want broadcast out anyway. Sorry, can I just acknowledge this? Yes, Stephen, I said palaver again. There was another word I taught him the other day as well. How to teach your grandmother to suck eggs. But believe me, he never quite got the interpretation of what I was talking about. It's when you teach something, it would be like me teaching you how to manage your hiring managers. It's like I'm teaching you how to do something you already know.
know.
Yeah.
Sorry. Bless you.
Quite a common UK turn of phrase, isn't it?
Liz Dowling has asked, will Tangie be joining you as a guest on the mastermind? I actually think you'll have to come on and be on my little mastermind. So I have no idea if you've seen it, but I have launched I'm calling it the Robot Proof Recruiter Mastermind, and there'll be a certification that goes with it. Super excited. Launched it this week. We've already got 3 people, so there's only 12 places left for the 3rd of June. You better hurry up, guys. And yeah, it's like every month we focus on like an influencing, or actually I should have done a confidence, but I think, I've got a fearlessness, haven't I? Adaptability, curiosity, all the skills that we need. And there's so much focus on the technology and the marketing, but not enough on the human. So I think that beautifully balances it out. So yes, actually, very true. Maybe the fearlessness one might be quite good.
I'm fearless.
Oh, we've got someone on Periscope. I keep my own tracking sheets regardless. To CYA. To CYA? I don't know.
That's an acronym. No?
I know, I don't know that one. You never know when you'll need them. I'm remote.
Amen. By the way, I agree with that.
I keep my own tracking sheets. Oh, cover your ass.
Yes. And I agree with that.
Sorry, I'm not down with the kids.
What I am saying is not everybody wants that though. So I have it on hand if I need it, right? Because you do have to CYA yourself in this world. I mean, as recruiters, we're the first to blame for everything. And so you have to be ready to be able to prove your worth, show your work, and show what you're doing. So I agree with it. I just don't agree with sending it to everyone because that's not the data every manager wants.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. And plus, you're keeping track of your candidates anyway, so you're going to be logging data somewhere.
Yeah.
If they really want to see your phone call list.
Most of the time.
I know. I wouldn't be because I'm pants at that.
Well, I have to have it ready because Glenn would want it every week.
Yeah, exactly.
Glenn would.
Well, that's like my Sunday morning read. That is with a cup of coffee, like Excel sheets. Love it.
Yeah, bring it on. Actually, that would go into how many emails have you got in your inbox kind of thing. That would be where my tracking is. Just go find it. It's in there. There are dead people in there, but go find it. I can't believe how fast this is going. Some of those shows.
It's going fast. Oh my goodness.
It is. I know.
Okay, so here's a question, Tangie. Somebody that's just about to start remote working, what tips are you going to give them, right? So it's the first time they've gone fully remote. What, from your experience, wealth of experience, 18 years, 3 best things they can do to really kickstart working remotely well?
Yeah, first thing, find a dedicated space to go to every day. It's not about, today I'm going to work from bedroom 1. Today I'm going to work on the couch. Find a dedicated space and make that your daily commute. I joke. I say my commute's down the hall. The second thing is find ways to keep a routine and shut it off. Whether that is turn your computer on mute if you're one of those that let it burn all night, but put it on mute so that chime doesn't make you want to go by your office and check that email. And then the third thing is find ways to refresh throughout the day, because when you work from home, you can get burnout really quick. You can start to feel lonely if you just sit and because really the computer and being on the phone is your only way to connect, right? So then that becomes a habit of nature, and you look and you're like, it's dark outside. I haven't gotten up from this computer. So find ways throughout the day to step away briefly, refresh, and connect so you can be energized when you do get to talk to people.
That's cool.
It's funny on that one, isn't it? Because so many people think, oh, well, I can't just like go and hang a load of washing out or go and sit in the garden or, you know, like eat my lunch, actually have a half an hour to eat my lunch in the sun. And sorry, because at the moment we have so much sun, the irony of no planes, all this sun. So very odd. But it's like this guilt comes, but then you feel so much better when you go back and sit at your desk and get going again for whatever time.
Absolutely.
I am so, though currently he's playing with the cable that's keeping this thing running. So I'm very,
there's a banjo.
My God. Yeah, I was going to say I'm very grateful for the routine of the dogs, you know, physically leave the house. And again, I've been doing that for 10 and a half years. So it's like I've got that routine and then start all of the things you just said. It's brilliant. So, Tangie, my God, I don't want it to end.
It's almost over. That's crazy.
I still feel we should share the irony of getting banned from a nail salon when my nails look like that because of the pandemic, but we will save that for another time. It's got to be done. So what's next? What happens next for Tangie? So you've got your, so who are we sending your way? So anyone who wants to understand how to manage hiring managers better?
So
who else? She's gone quiet. She doesn't know who her ideal client is.
You know, I had to think about that briefly, but because it's for individuals and it's for teams. So, you know, going into opportunity to train companies that have teams of remote recruiters, whether they're new to this or more seasoned, and they want to just up their game on strengthening those relationships because the remote workforce has grown exponentially due to COVID-19. That individual who is either adjusting to working from home and used to being around their hiring managers and now they're not, how do they bridge that gap? Or someone that's newly hired into this remote workforce that exists even more. You know, those are the clients that I can coach up for success.
God,
perfect timing, right?
It's really perfect timing. I mean, and going into that, someone that's just started remote, bless my brother, he's just he'd started a job and obviously got laid off again and then got himself another one. But he's like starting on Monday remote, and because he's never done that in his entire life, like it's just like so such a big deal. It's like nerve-wracking. So I think it's really cool you'll be giving guidance on that.
And there's also Katrina and Glenn, there's a group that I started with colleague from SourceCon about a year and a half ago. It's called the Support Group for Remote Talent Acquisition Professionals, and it is on Facebook. Because
which particular SourceCon colleague? That sounded very cryptic.
Oh no, Mike.
By the way, hopefully Anne's still on the line having a wine every time we say SourceCon. So let's get SourceCon in a couple
we said it a
more
couple
times.
more times.
SourceCon. The support group.
Yes. So find us on Facebook, because that is a group where we chat about what's going on remotely, sending out tips, best practices, but then to also build a network, because it really is times where you can feel alone when you're working from home. Yeah.
And it was fascinating because Louise Triance and Claire Bush started a working lunch, which people here in the UK can, well, actually wherever, but it's 1 o'clock UK time, that people kind of tune in. And again, we were all working remote already, but oh my gosh, has it become a lifeline through this? Just listening to other people, hearing their stories and feeling we had that support. So I completely hear what you're doing. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Can't wait to see what's going on here.
It's going to be exciting stuff.
Book her.
Yeah.
And if people want to find out what's coming soon, you can go to my website and join the Talk Tribe, so you can follow me when I post a blog or if there's a talk coming up. And yeah, it's pretty simple. So you just go to twttalent.com and sign up to be a member.
Okay, are you ready for this? Awesome. This is how we shall end the show. Shamila, who doesn't pronounce your name like that. Any company should be lucky to have you even consider them. I've said this to you in person, and I'll also say it in public. You are one of the people that I really look up to in the industry. Thank you for inspiring all of us.
Oh, Shamila. Thank you.
Tangie Pettis, cool. Thank you. Thank you. I cannot wait to see you in person, hug you, and get kicked out of another nail salon with you. It's been too long. Definitely. I'm due a stateside trip. It's going to happen. Thank you for being such a fabulous guest. Who are our guests next week? I've forgotten their names. They're your guests, Gen Z.
Oh,
Yeah, we're doing my favorite generational time. No, we're not.
Yeah. It'll be an interesting one. It will be. Yeah, they're a partnership. They're a duo. We're going to actually have 2 guests on plus us. So the first time I think we've had 4.
Oh, we might be spread like a 4.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be
interesting.
Could be fun.
Can I thank again our fabulous new sponsor, Enterprise Alumni. Thank you so much for supporting us. I still think I'd like to get a beard oil one as well, if anyone knows. Anyway, no. The reason I loved having Enterprise Alumni is they're all about community, and this is all about a community. So actually, it was a beautifully match made in heaven. So I'm very grateful. Tangie, what can I say? Thank you. That was amazing.
Thank you, Tangie.
Thank you both for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you for everyone's tuned in. Some of you as well, because you're on bank holiday with us. So thank you for getting online and chatting with us as well. Everyone. And we shall see you all next week at exactly the same time. That would be 3 p.m. UK time.
UK time.
Before I say London. And 10 a.m. Eastern. So we shall see you same time next week. Bye, guys.